The Democratic Alliance is heading for a major reshuffle of the leadership of its parliamentary caucus, but party leader and Western Cape Premier Helen Zille silenced speculation by indicating she will not be returning to the National Assembly. Parliamentary leader Lindiwe Mazibuko, having decided to pursue a master's degree in public administration at Harvard University's J.F. Kennedy School of Government in the United States of America, will need to be replaced in an internal election that will take place on May 29th.
Look, I think it opens up a number of interesting questions. Certainly her movement out, if it is temporary, however, for however long she's moved out of the caucus, the bottom line is that the caucus then becomes exposed to new faces and in fact new political dynamics during the period that she is out of South Africa. So by leaving the caucus right now, she opens up the possibility for Mamusi Maimane to become a very powerful player in the caucus, and her absence in a sense does set up a much more interesting leadership tussle in future, with Mr. Maimane, I think's star being on the rise as a result of his pretty good showing in Gauteng in particular. So a window of opportunity has been created by her departure for Mr. Maimane to become, I think, a front figure in the DA, which he already is. The current parliament is going to be a very different animal to the previous parliament. And the DA will need a very vocal, very aggressive, very in-your-face parliamentary leader in order to compete with the style of campaigning and potentially parliamentary campaigning that Mr. Malema and his EFF are going to bring to the table. And I don't think there's any room for the DA to have an academic style of leadership. I think the party needs somebody who's going to really take the debate not only to Jacob Zuma and the ANC, but also compete with the EFF, because the EFF have in fact taken some opposition limelight away from the DA. So there are tremendous pressures now on the DA in Parliament, and I think it opens up a number of interesting possibilities for the DA to become a lot more competitive in the parliamentary terrain, especially with new leadership. You know, I think the gender issue is quite interesting in the DA, because it certainly has been a party that's had very strong female leadership figures. And without being sexist, I think that there is a body of the South African electorate who also want to see strong male leadership figures at the top echelons of the political party. So certainly I think there will be a more of an aggressive style of politics. Not that Ms Zille is not aggressive, I might add, but I think from Mr. Maimane, if he did indeed assume a leadership position, he would be, I think, a more aggressive, he would be a more masculine figure in a sense. This would contrast with the softer approach, especially from Ms Mazibuko, who will vacate her position. And I think too that Ms Mazibuko adopted something of a more academic approach to politics within Parliament. And I'm not quite sure whether something a little bit bordering on the real politics of the day is perhaps more effective than the academic style that I think she did bring to the table. So in a sense, I think the DA will perhaps get a shot in the arm from a change of leadership within Parliament. But of course, some of the issues that have plagued the DA's internally on policy, the DA's stance especially towards employment equity, affirmative action, these issues will have to be ironed out in a new caucus. And a new caucus, I think, that can safely say it's no longer a white party. It's a party now with mixed interests. And those interests are going to be demanding a lot more clarity from the DA on policy. So in fact, with relative success comes added pressures on the DA. With this change in leadership comes added pressures as well, and very critical choices of the route the DA is going to take in future. It's not just the ANC that will have to ask themselves questions after this election result, the DA will as well. And as I have said, the DA faces competition in the opposition sphere from the EFF today. And the battle indeed may be not just between the DA and the ANC, but it'll be who will represent opposition voters in South Africa. And the DA are going to have to carve out and extend their footprint in that particular component of the electorate.